Okay, so as I said, the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate is essentially converted to two molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So in the next stage of the glycolysis pathway, the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Okay? And what is very important to note in this reaction is that we have a dehydrogenase enzyme which converts NAD plus to NADH plus H plus. Okay, so so this reduction of NAD to NADH is a very important step. Remember that glycolysis occurs in the cytosol of the cell. Later in the series, I will show you that this NADH from the cytosol has to move into the mitochondrial matrix in order for us to be able to extract energy from the NADH. And for that, we require one of two shuttles, which we'll deal with later. So bear that in mind. Okay, so once 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is formed, in the next step, we have a kinase. And one of the phosphates is donated to ADP, and you'll see we generate our first ATP. Remember that this will be two molecules of ATP because we're dealing with two 3-carbon sugars here. And the resultant product here is 3-phosphoglycerate. One thing I need to point out to you that 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate can be converted to a byproduct, which is not part of the glycolytic pathway, but it is very important. This 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate can be utilized to form 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate or 2,3-BPG. And 2,3-BPG plays a very important role in oxygen transport. It is able to decrease the affinity of oxygen for hemoglobin. For example, in people who move to high altitudes, the 2,3-BPG level increases. The level is high in cigarette smokers, etc. So 2,3-BPG decreases the affinity of oxygen for hemoglobin molecule. In other words, the oxygen will leave hemoglobin more easily, which can be advantageous in tissues with low oxygen tensions. But you'll deal with that a lot later. Okay, so once we have 3-phosphoglycerate, this is converted to 2-phosphoglycerate, and this molecule is then acted upon by an enzyme called enolase to form a high energy compound called phosphoenol pyruvate, or also abbreviated as PEP. Okay, the phosphoenol pyruvate is acted upon by a very important enzyme, Pyruvate Kinase, which plays a role in another irreversible reaction in this pathway. And here again, the phosphate from the PEP is added to ADP to form ATP. So here again, we generate another two molecules of ATP. Remember, we utilized two molecules in the early stages. We've generated four, so we have a net gain of 2 ATPs. So after this step, the pyruvate kinase step, we now generate a molecule called pyruvate. Okay? Now pyruvate is a very interesting molecule. I have lots to tell you about pyruvate. And so let's just consider this step here, the conversion of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. I said to you that we require NAD plus for this reaction. If for any reason the electron transport chain is unable to operate because of a lack of oxygen or because of the presence of an inhibitor of the electron transport chain, then the pyruvate has to go one step further, and it is converted to lactate or lactic acid by an enzyme called LDH or Lactate Dehydrogenase. And this enzyme does a very useful thing. What it does is that it takes the NADH and it oxidizes the NADH back to NAD+. And this NAD+ can feed this reaction of glycolysis so that glycolysis does not come to a halt. Okay? If you have too much lactate accumulating, it can lead to a condition called lactic acidosis. But under normal circumstances where there is an abundance of oxygen, the pyruvate is then converted to acetyl coenzyme A, which then enters the next pathway, which is the TCA cycle. And in the next set of lectures, we'll deal with pyruvate and the TCA cycle. Okay, so let's go back to the question I posed earlier, is which enzyme is likely to be ineffective in this 22-year-old woman who experiences abdominal cramps and vomiting after being exposed to candy and various fruits. And if we look at the glycolysis pathway, remember I told you that aldolase B is involved in the conversion of fructose 1-phosphate to 2,3 carbon sugars, and that will not be possible if aldolase B is ineffective, and therefore fructose 1-phosphate will accumulate in the various organs, leading to a number of symptoms which this patient was experiencing. It's a condition that is not fatal, but can certainly be treated by avoiding those various foods. Thank you.